Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.
Welcome into another edition of the James Boyd Podcast. I, of course, am James Boyd, joined by my editor, Jim Aiello. And Jim, as you told me before we started the podcast, you were out at dinner trying to enjoy a nice meal, and then you probably got a million text messages from me and a couple of notifications from your Twitter sphere that Anthony Richardson had left the preseason opener due to injury.
To be clear, I was watching the game, and I told you, like I said, I brought my computer for such events. Like I was going out to dinner with a fellow athletic colleague who happened to be in town. So I thought, hey, James is gonna be writing his story afterward, which you guys should all read. It's nice, like stock up, stock down type of report. But I was like, that won't come until after. I can text with James whenever we need to. It'll be fine. Stupid, real stupid. When you're the editor of a team that rolls out Anthony Richardson. You just have to be on high alert at all times. You know what? I think I knew that somewhere in the back of my brain, but it's new season. We're all running through reps here, and I made a mistake. So I regret it. I apologize. If the story was minutes later than you all wanted to read it on The Athletic, that's probably me. I just, like I said, I really thought we could get through 2 series without Anthony Richardson having to leave the game with an injury. I guess that's where I want to start with you before we get, and again, to give some people the little quick rundown here, we'll hit all of the stock risers and stock fallers that James wrote about in his story for this morning. You should check it out. It's got some good details in it too, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, gut reaction, man. Like, what was it? Like when you saw Richardson run off the field and you see the trainers looking at him and you're like, what were you thinking at that moment?
Honestly, I was thinking, is this it? Because, and I say that in all seriousness, because when he first got hit and he got rocked, we'll get into the play and what should or shouldn't have happened. But when he got hit, Jim, he was holding his right shoulder all the way down, not just the hand and the pinky, which ended up being the right pinky got dislocated, which is, for all intents and purposes, probably a very good thing for Anthony Richardson.
Oh yeah, you should. I guess you could lead with the news here from this morning that he's good. Probably.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's day to day. He'll practice depending on the soreness level. So it's not something that the Colts are scared of or afraid of. But obviously, it's a little bit of a setback for him. But getting back to the moment itself, Jim, I honestly thought it was his shoulder, and I was like, if this guy's shoulder is messed up, this is it. Because this is Indianapolis. We've seen shoulder injuries, unfortunately, with quarterbacks, and they have not ended well. They don't end well for most people when they have shoulder injuries. But fortunately, when he went over to the sideline, I was watching the broadcast, you can see him getting his hand worked on. And then eventually they went back to it, and they showed the replay, and I saw like kind of what happened. And my initial thought then, Jim, was that he dislocated it, because as someone who's broken fingers, and I have never broken it like to where his was looking like yesterday, where it's like just totally pointing the wrong direction. But I had broken my index and my middle finger in high school playing basketball. And early on that they're broke because they ain't working right. And him not having a more demonstrative response or seeming like he was more agitated or upset. He didn't even go back to the locker room. I thought all of that was probably a good sign that perhaps it was just dislocated. But man, when I slowed it down, took the screen grab, Jim, you put it in my story. Yeah, it looked pretty nasty.
I don't like looking at those. I saw your tweet and I was like, all right, I got the general idea.
Man,
those aren't for me. But I mean, as Shane Steichen said, that's hard to say 3 times fast. Popped it out. It popped out. Popped it back in. All good to go. I'm sure they'll. They were being. You look back now, they were just being supremely cautious with a guy who has been
Injury prone.
I don't want to say injury prone, fragile. These are the
Been.
words I don't want. I don't want to use those words, but
He is.
that's
He
what it
has
is.
been. We're journalists. I will speak the truth. He has been injury prone.
It
He has been fragile. He has been not reliable, not durable, whatever you want to say.
it's crazy. I was my because my brother was texting me last night about this, and I was just like, I can't. You look at that guy, and you're like, this guy's injury prone. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it doesn't, it doesn't work like that, but it's just the gut reaction that you feel, right? Like you're looking at this physical, like specimen of a player who does work hard to keep himself in shape and all those things. Like I think he dropped weight, right? Like he was,
Yep.
in order to hopefully help him stay healthier. And obviously, again, I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just saying it's a freak thing. He got his pinky dislocated while he got hit. Like it's a freak thing. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
he can do in the offseason to train to not have his pinky dislocated while he's getting hit. That said, here we are again. That's my thought, right, man? It was just back to that. Like here we go again. Like another one, really? Like we had the injuries the first year, the injuries the second year, we had the shoulder again, like during spring. Now we have this. It's like, can we just watch this guy play some games and get an evaluation on what he's like as a quarterback? Did he show growth? Did he not? There were some nice things. We can get into it before we get to the bad play, which is obviously bad. There's no defending it. The first throw, down A.D. Mitchell on the comeback down the sideline, great throw. I actually thought that was one of those types of throws that not only Anthony Richardson can make, but like a quarterback. He waited long enough with the pressure bearing down on him that he really had to fire it like almost all arm. Wasn't really able to step into it. And
Right.
because he has so much power in that arm, he got that ball exactly where it needed to be to A.D. Mitchell. Great throw, great read. Second play, and again, I think Steven Ruiz at the Ringer did a nice little breakdown of the four passes that we saw.
4 dropbacks.
4 dropbacks. The second one, nice job. He looks off the linebacker so that he can create a window for Tyler Warren. Fires it maybe a little too hard at Tyler Warren, but hey, Warren's got sticky hands, catches it, and makes a nice play. Like honestly thought, and then the last one, it was a little late coming back to that crosser. Like if you watch that play, and maybe I'll get your opinion. Again, this is maybe just me defending Anthony Richardson, but like I really hated Ashton Doolin's route. He just is drifting upfield as Richardson is trying to fire that crosser, and instead of coming back to the ball, I don't know what the route calls for, to be honest with you, but like it makes that throw way harder when your receiver is drifting up and the cornerback can undercut it, as opposed to Doolin working back toward the quarterback a little bit more.
Yeah.
That was frustrating, but like again, make a better throw. I'm not trying to excuse it too much. I just didn't love the route from Doolin. And then, yeah, I think we can. I mean, I'm sure you have comments on those first 3 plays, but we can get into the fateful 4th drop back that ended his night.
Yeah, I would agree with your assessment on the first few plays. I even thought that, even with Ashton drifting upfield, and I don't think Anthony really got a chance to step into that one. So he kind of floated it out there. But those are some of the throws where, I wonder, do you take that risk or do you eat it? Because at that point, I believe they were already in field goal range. So sometimes every now and then you got to kind of, save some bullets there and be a little bit wiser about taking care of the football, because that should have been picked. It just wasn't. But then when he got cracked, at first I'm thinking, oh man, like my mind just goes to, oh, it was a blindside hit. And then I was like, wait a second. I had to delete that tweet. I'm like, this wasn't a blindside hit. This was literally from the side that he's looking at or should be looking at.
Right.
And the reaction that I got from, I would say, or we got from the NFL world and a lot of former players, one of them being
I feel like a lot of quarterbacks raced to tell you why Anthony
Chase
Richardson
Daniel
screwed this up. Chase Daniel,
Daniels,
Kurt Warner, there was a bunch.
Like a lot of them were like, wait a second, this is day one install stuff. This is a simple, protection that he has to recognize, or he has to recognize that he's not going to have the number of blockers that that for every rusher they're sending, and he's got to get rid of the ball pretty hot. He did not do that. And to me, Jim, that is probably more damning if that were the case. And Anthony kind of admitted that he was confused by the defensive scheme. So it is his fault. I know people were kept saying like, oh, the offensive line didn't do anything, or DJ Giddens didn't chip the pass rusher. That's not their assignment.
Nope.
Not their assignment. So that to me was pretty concerning, considering he's going into his 3rd year with this offense, and he couldn't recognize something that wasn't really all that exotic. I mean, the Ravens aren't throwing out all of their best defensive schemes in the first preseason game of the season. So, yeah, I was disappointed by that, and I think that's the kind of stuff that will drive Shane Steichen crazy and
Yeah.
could potentially open the door for Daniel Jones to supplant Anthony Richardson as a starting quarterback. Beyond health,
Oh
and
yeah.
obviously if Anthony isn't like just the worst passer ever, like he was honestly last year with 47.7 completion percentage, but if he's better, I mean, the way that Daniel Jones will play is if Anthony just doesn't do the simple stuff. And that seemed like that's something that from NFL standards should be pretty simple.
First thing I'll say is Richardson completed 2 of 3 passes, so we're way above 47%.
66%, baby. He's passing with flying colors.
I actually, as soon as he got to 2 of 3 in my head while watching the game, I was like, don't let him throw again. Just like, just ice
So
it.
it's your fault.
So you can walk away with, well, he didn't throw again, right? He just took the hit. So
Yep.
yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad. Like there's no other way to look at it. I watched the play probably half dozen times this morning, try to get a read on it. And these quarterbacks, obviously, like don't get me, I was teasing before, but like Chase Daniel and Kurt Warner know 1,000 times more about what is supposed to happen on that kind of play than I do. So I'm
Right.
absolutely taking them at their word. Anthony Richardson said, I think in his post game press conference that, or at least to reporters afterward, that he thought the blitz was coming from the left. And if you watch the nickel does kind of bluff, like he's going to show us some pressure. I don't know what that means in terms of the evaluation of Richardson. I think it's probably still disappointing. Like as you pointed out, like you gotta know. You gotta be able. You can't get deked like that. You can't. If you're gonna call like a slide protection to the left, then you got to make sure you're responsible then for anything that comes off the right edge. Like that's
Right.
just on the quarterback. So if you're gonna slide protect left, you have to see what's coming off the right edge. And he just decided not to look, which was wrong. Like I think he said at one point yesterday that he knows how to fix it. I'm like, yeah, man. I know how to fix it too. You gotta, you gotta look to the right and make sure. Hey, do I have a free runner coming? And if
Yeah,
I
it's
do,
like when you cross the street as a kid, you gotta look both ways.
if you get deked on like where the pressure's coming from, okay, not great, not good, and you slide protection that way, okay, you've made that decision, but you got to make sure you're right. Then, like, you can't assume you're right and then pay for it the way he paid for it. He's lucky hanging on the ball. I think you wrote it in your story. Like he's lucky he didn't fumble that ball.
Yeah.
Or that Ajabo didn't just try to swipe it out of his hands. I mean, there's a lot of pass rushers. I mean, Colts fans know a guy like Robert Mathis would have just knocked that ball right out of his hands if he had been instead of just laying the wood. Which, I mean, I'm not coming at Ajabo or anything. He did a nice job, but like somebody, maybe a more forward-thinking, I guess, pass rusher would have just gone right for the ball because you get the sack too anyway. But anyway, it's a disappointing play. Like you said, third season in Shane Steichen's offense. But it honestly, my first thought was, this is the kind of shit that happens when you're never on the field. Like you don't get the reps, you don't get the practice, you don't get to see what NFL defenses are doing, and you're making rookie mistakes in your third season because you're not on the field.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that he's only played 15 games through 2 years.
He hasn't
And
even
when
played a
he's-
full season.
Exactly. I was gonna say even if he starts week 1, he still hasn't played technically a full season of NFL games. So my reaction was just a lot of probably more annoyance than anything because I was like, man, that has to sting for that front office and for this fan base because at some point you have to look at reality, and reality is telling you that the guy, for whatever reason, whether it's unlucky, whether it's I don't know, physical, even though he's a physical specimen, like you said, Jim, will his body just not hold up to certain things? But bottom line is they had to pull you out of the game. And I know people are telling me, oh, it's just preseason, they're precautionary. I get all of that, man, but the optics are never good for him in particular if he leaves the game with that type of injury. If Michael Pittman Jr. leaves the game and say he dislocated his finger, okay, whatever. He played through a fractured back last year. He was out there.
Yeah.
And I don't say Anthony should have been out there last year with his back injuries, but the point is, it's hard to take that label of being fragile or being soft or whatever when you're just not able to go out there and compete. And then on top of that, it clouds the quarterback competition even more.
Yeah.
Because,
What's your thoughts on that? I mean, it's not like Daniel Jones looked great yesterday. We can get into that a little bit, but he was available, right? Like that's better than Anthony Richardson.
Exactly. So he was one of my stock fallers, Anthony Richardson, that is. And then obviously by default, stock riser would be Daniel Jones. Yeah. Even though Daniel Jones didn't have a great performance, Jim, they brought him in for that reason. And now we're seeing, again, that reason already be validated in the preseason opener.
It's 100%. Like the quote is in your story. It's the first thing Chris Ballard said last year at the end of his end of season press conference. It's the first thing he said about Anthony Richardson. Number one concern, he's not been able to stay healthy. Whether that's his fault or whether it's not, doesn't really matter. You can't count on him to stay healthy, and we saw
Exactly.
that week one of the preseason. Couldn't count on him to stay healthy. Now again, to your point, maybe if this was a regular season game, they pop the pinky back in, he goes back in. I don't know, but. And I kind of think that's probably would have happened, but either way, the look is terrible. The optics are terrible. It's just, the annoyance that you're feeling, I kind of have to think the Colts are feeling. That's just like, come on, stay in the game, play the game. But on Daniel Jones, I'll just say I don't want him to win the job because I know what this is. I just
Yeah.
don't. I know. I
And
maybe
real
I'm
quick,
wrong again.
Real quick,
Yeah.
for the listeners who may not be familiar, Jim also oversees our Giants coverage. So when he says he
Right.
knows what he's seen this before, this is the same thing, it's because he's literally watched probably more Daniel Jones games, tape, edited more stories, read more stories than anybody else outside of that market, for our listening purposes. I know my listeners, a lot of Indianapolis market people, but yeah, Jim knows his stuff, for better or worse when it comes to Daniel Jones. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, that's it. Now there's a chance he is the next Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith. I get that's within the range of outcomes, but to me it's such a low probability that that's what happens.
Right.
And what I think is going to happen is I'm going to watch the guy that I watched with the Giants, which there's just no ceiling there. There's just no he can give you competent quarterback play. He truly can. I'm not dismissive of that. He can give you solid quarterback play, which
Right.
okay, what are the Colts going to do with that in the AFC? 8 wins, 9 wins? What does that mean at best? What does that mean?
Right.
I just don't. If I have to watch a whole season of Daniel Jones, I feel like I'm throwing a season away, which is not fair necessarily to Daniel Jones or to the other players on this team that could elevate him. But I don't know. Anthony Richardson. I just want to see. I just want to know. I just want to know.
Yeah.
And I want, if it's not there, it's not there. That's fine. But it will stink for the Colts and for fans. But at least we'll see it. At least give me 15 games of Anthony Richardson in year 3. And if he still has a 50% completion percentage or worse, at least you're right? We have found out the answer. But this way, it's just so frustrating, man. It's just I know. I know I'm repeating myself, but I really can't get over I woke up this morning frustrated. I'm I just want to watch this guy play football so I can figure out if he can actually do it or not. That's it.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
And honestly, that might be your answer. It's unfortunate, but if you're not out there, there's your answer. If you're
I
not
know.
able to be available, there's your answer. And that's a big reason why they brought Daniel Jones in. And I believe he finished 10 of 21 passing yesterday, 144 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. His touchdown pass to Ashton Doolin actually got called back
Yeah.
because of an offensive penalty. But I thought it was the Daniel Jones experience. It was not horrible, but it also wasn't obviously elite. But I do think that he was relatively fine. I think that's the word that Kevin Bourne used this morning on 107.5 The Fan. Fine. He was fine. Had a couple of drops in there. I'll give him some credit there where he probably should have more yardage and maybe more opportunities to go score. Anthony Gould had a couple of drops in there. Kind of rough day for him. But when I look at the totality of just the situation itself, there's nothing Daniel Jones can do or has done throughout this preseason training camp where you think that he could take you on a run. I just don't see that. I think that he's somebody that's serviceable and slightly above average. Now, he did have a couple of nice throws yesterday.
For sure.
One of them
Capable
to,
of that.
obviously Tyler Warren, who had a big day. We'll get into that. And then he also had, I think, the best throw of the day from either team's quarterbacks. They were playing a lot of backups, no Lamar Jackson yesterday, but when he was able to scramble a little bit there, Jim, I believe it was the second quarter, and had pressure on him, scrambled to his left, created more time, and then threw it down the field to Ashton Doolin, who, by the way, also had a big day. So I think that was a little bit promising, but even then, it wasn't enough for me to think, oh my gosh, this guy's has taken the job. He's won the job. He's the guy. No, at this point, we probably wondering, okay, will you flip-flop the game plan possibly come next week? Because the plan going into yesterday's game, Anthony Richardson, you'll get a quarter and a half. Daniel Jones, you'll finish out that second quarter, and then we'll flip-flop it. Obviously, that kind of got reversed yesterday and kind of got flip-flopped yesterday because of the injury to Anthony. Only played 6 snaps. Daniel Jones played obviously a lot more. And so do you flip that for next week? But
I think you have to. As almost as unfair as that is to Daniel Jones, although I can hear people screaming into their who cares if it's unfair? This is like the NFL. You have to replace guys that get hurt, so that's just. But I think you have to. We can't get to the third preseason game without seeing, at least trying to see an extended look at Anthony Richardson. So I think you're right. Can I just like a fun bit of irony, right? All offseason, we've seen 47.7% completion rate for Anthony Richardson, and I just find it hilarious that Daniel Jones' first game with the Colts, he's 47.6.
Yeah. Honestly, I did see that stat line. This is the most Anthony Richardson stat line ever. He'll fit right in Indianapolis, right? So moving along to other more pressing news, the biggest news outside of Anthony Richardson's right pinky, by the way, I learned yesterday that pinky is spelled Pinkie. I thought it was always Pinky, but yeah, nevertheless, for the nerds out there, when I was going through some of my copy, Jim, I was like, oh, it's pinky. Okay, well, I didn't know that. Hopefully I don't have to write this word too much more often and Anthony can stay healthy. But on a more serious note, Justin Walley lost for the season due to a torn ACL. Shane Steichen didn't really provide specifics on when the injury occurred. However, Justin Walley, after having a nice pass breakup on Lamar Jackson the other day in joint practice, he ends up, not having an opportunity to play his rookie season because he now has torn his ACL, according to Shane Steichen. So huge blow to the secondary. I cannot, imagine how one, Justin was feeling, but also Lou Anarumo and the rest of that defensive staff, because they were all pretty high on Justin Walley, who, I had taken a liking to. I think he has a nice personality, a very humble young man, and was eager to get out there and play. But Jim, just your reaction to hearing that news, because obviously for those listening, I was not in Baltimore. I went for the joint practice, but I came back earlier and watched the game from home. And we're watching the game and I'm watching the press conferences back and I'm trying to gather notes. Oh, so-and-so tweeted this, so-and-so did that. And then I see Steichen talking, and he says, Wally's done for the year. I'm like, what? So how do you square that, Jim, with what it also means to that cornerback room?
Yeah, it sucks. There was just the cherry, the crappy cherry on top of a crappy Sunday.
Nasty cherry, nasty.
Oh, you think Colts fans, you've taken enough of a blow today with the Richardson stuff? Nope. Here's Justin Walley, the big bright spot on defensive, and not to say they haven't had others, but the big bright spot on defense, rookie third rounder, and he's out for the year. No, I mean, anybody that's read you this offseason knows that it's gonna hurt. It's a big blow to the secondary. Now, to Chris Ballard's credit, they've boosted the secondary. This makes the Charvarius Ward signing that much more important, obviously.
Right.
He's still their number one corner. They still have some contenders for the number 2 spot with Jalen Jones and Juju Brents, both of whom I believe didn't play yesterday because of injuries. But it's just, man, like I said, it sucks. I feel bad for Walley. That's honestly where my heart went first. Yeah. It's just a rookie who's showing out like that, especially a guy like you had mentioned. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Colts kind of reached for this kid. And maybe they shouldn't have taken him as high as they did." And he was proving everybody wrong, and the Colts right. And yeah, it's a bummer. But yeah, I think for the Colts secondary, this is a huge loss. Literally from the time he stepped on the field, I feel like Lou Anarumo, who does not shower people with praise, was impressed with this kid.
Yeah, showing him some love, and Chris Ballard did as well. Called him like a little pit bull, Shane Steichen. he was one of the first players that Shane Steichen mentioned throughout the spring who was standing out to him. And again, Shane Steichen, I don't even think he likes talking to like the mailman. He's a guy
Yeah.
who, if he ain't talking about football, I don't want to hear it. So the fact that he was willing to be a little bit more upfront and honest and perhaps hyped up about Justin Walley, I think that validated it even more for me. Like, oh, this kid must be really making plays. And I saw, like I said the other day in the joint practice, he has a nice pass breakup on a deep pass from Lamar Jackson. It's like that's one of the best quarterbacks ever, not just of this generation, but two-time league MVP, three-time first-team All-Pro. Those guys, when you can get a hand on one of those passes or disrupt those guys, it lets you know that you probably belong. And so it also adds, no pun intended, insult to injury because of how depleted that cornerback room already was. Jalen
Right.
Jones, Juju Brents, who in theory would be the next people up on the depth chart, they're both out right now with hamstring injuries with no timeline on their return. And so that to me just adds another wrinkle to an otherwise, what the Colts would hope to be a positive season because it's no sugarcoating. Right now, I mean, that game last time, this is like the game from hell. This is not something people want to deal with because of the injury news. Even JT Tuimoloau, who had a big day, and I actually did not mention him in my stock risers, otherwise I was going to write forever, Jim. But he was somebody who had a big day. He even left the game with a knee injury. Now, according to, I believe, Nate Atkins of Any Star, it doesn't seem like it's a big, major injury, but just you as someone who lives in Indianapolis, I think the fans here, and I can speak for most of them as far as how they feel because they let me know every day. It's like, are we cursed? What's going on here? And Tyrese Halliburton tears his Achilles in Game 7 of the Finals. Caitlin Clark is out right now with the groin injury. She hasn't played, I believe, in 9 or 10 games. Anthony Richardson dislocates his pinky, and our top cornerback is down, or top young cornerback is down and out for the season. Like, I feel for him, man. That's a tough break, and I'm just not so sure how much you can really pivot from that. Now, I don't want to act like Justin Walley was an all-pro because I didn't see him play in an actual game just yet.
Yeah.
But, man, I can't imagine how they try to recoup and retool that room because it certainly will look differently without him in it.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, is your gut that they're good? Because I just feel like Juju Brents, man, like talented as he might be, like can you count on him going forward? I don't know that you want to. So are you looking, if you're Chris Ballard, are you looking at Asante Samuel Jr., Rasul Douglas, like Steph Gilmore? Like I think these are the corners. Excuse me if I forgot anybody, but these are the corners that are still left on the free agent market. Are you considering trying to bring in somebody of that stature just to plug the hole, or do you? I think Chris Ballard, knowing his background, though we've talked about it, he's changed a little bit this season. Knowing his background, he's going to want to give the guys that he's picked the opportunities. But man, I don't know. I feel a little uncomfortable with those two just because they're already dealing with injuries. Juju Brents has the long injury history. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Would you look into bringing in a veteran at this point?
I it's hard to not think about those things just because when you look at that cornerback room, you're so young and kind of unproven. You do have the injury history there beyond just Justin Walley. I mean, Jalen Jones has been durable. He played all 17 games last year, but Juju Brents, he's only played 11 games over the past 2 years, and you wonder if you roll the dice on him. It's similar to how it is at quarterback with Anthony Richardson. You don't want to go into the season not really having a contingency plan in place, just in case. Now, obviously, you don't want, in an ideal world, you wouldn't want Daniel Jones to get any snaps in the regular season because that means Anthony has played all of them.
Right.
That is not always reality. I think that can also be said for defensive positions. And so at cornerback, I probably would think about bringing in Stephon Gilmore. I know he's old, but from what I understand, he respected the franchise. He's put a lot of good word in for the franchise for players who have come from elsewhere, depending on where his stops were since leaving the Colts. And he's probably, even at, 35, he's probably better than most cornerbacks still, in my opinion. So, he's 34, turns 35 in September. That is old for a cornerback, but we're talking about a former defensive player of the year and someone who, even if they've lost, and they have lost like a step or two, he can still be, I think, better than perhaps, turning to Sam Womack or Alex Johnson, who, by the way, the second-year pro who was undrafted last year had a nice pick yesterday, but I don't think that's enough for me to be convinced that that position is okay. No, at this point, I'm starting to think, like, do you at least just kick the tires a little bit to make sure you've done all you can to kind of give yourself a contingency plan?
The hard part is that I'm guessing guys like Gilmore, guys like Douglas, probably even Samuel, who's not that old, is 25, but they're probably looking for a guaranteed starting spot, and I just don't know. I don't know that Ballard's going to go there with Juju Brents and Jalen Jones. I think he wants to
Yeah.
give them opportunities to play. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. It's something to keep an eye on and monitor for you and for Colts fans to see if there are any rumors around those guys. But let's talk about something nice because my goodness, I know we don't have to go
I
in order
know,
of your
doom and
story.
gloom.
Man, let's talk about Tyler Warren for a minute. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
my goodness, like talk about a guy just like almost boringly living up to the billing. Like it was just
Yeah,
like
I
when I
need him
saw
to
him.
celebrate. All right. I need him to get with Cam Bynum and figure out something because the man is just he's too much of a coach's son. And I know that
Mhm.
that's a compliment. His dad played collegiately, but man, you're right, Jim. Tyler Warren just makes plays and like never says a word, goes about his business. He's so old school. That's the vibe I
I
get from him.
Yeah, and like it was predictable in a great way. Like, oh, he's gonna catch everything thrown to him, 3 for 3, and made a tough snag on that. I thought on that Richardson, that kind of bullet that he threw him. Like, ran solid routes, ran over a guy pretty much on the one on the
Right.
sideline. Like, it was just like, oh yes, everything in the scouting report is here on the field. It is happening. So, I think for Colts fans, again, it was kind of a big bummer Thursday night preseason opener, but I think you can at least be happy that I'm not ready to be like, oh, he's going to be a superstar, but man, he does look like what was built. You know what I mean? Like that was the player that everyone told you were getting, and it's like, yeah, that's exactly what it looked like the first time we got to see him in live action.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, I couldn't agree more when it comes to how he looked. And I think what was cool about it, Jim, to piggyback off of your point, was the variety in which he got the ball. I know one of the
Hmm.
screen passes got, called back, but they hit him on a couple of different routes where it wasn't just, hey, go do this one specific thing, and if it works, cool. They were using him. I think it's kind of like a featured skill position player where he wasn't doing what tight ends of the past have done in Indianapolis, which is when they're 12 personnel, meaning two tight ends or 13 personnel, and they've got three. Hey, go block this guy. Hey, go do the dirty work. Hey, maybe Mo Alley Cox, if you can catch a couple passes every now and then, we'll appreciate you. No, that looked like something, whether it's Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, where they can thrive with having that dude over the middle because he catches everything and he's physical and he's gonna, if you put it in the right spot, he's shown the ability. And again, I preface all this about saying it's, hasn't played in the pros just yet, but throughout his career, he's shown that he can have that yak ability, the yards after the catch and yards after contact. So, that made me, feel a little bit better about the situation here in Indianapolis. Because other than that, I was like, man, this is doom and gloom right now. This is getting ugly. But Tyler Warren, is anybody surprised? Nope. I think that, if he were to have a solid rookie season, or even, let's just say this, Jim, if he was able to get in the end zone first out of all the skill position players on the roster for the Colts in the regular season, it would not surprise me because of
Yeah.
the hands, the big body frame, and the versatility. Because let's be honest, if it's 4th and 1, there might be a few times where he gets the direct snap and they're trying to push to the end zone. So yeah, he just got to keep stacking days. And I loved how I think Anthony Richardson said after the game, we just got to keep him rolling and rumbling. And I felt like I was in a band. And I was
Yeah.
like rolling and rumbling. Okay, AR, maybe you're like the lead guitarist or something like that. I'll maybe not because of the pinky, but I don't know if you got any vocals. You got that deep voice,
Yeah. A little
but
baritone. I could see it.
yeah, I've thought about it though. But on a serious note though, he looked good. And to continue, I guess, with more positive, feedback for the Colts, I did think that Spencer Schrader took a big step forward in that game.
That's
And
big news for the Colts. Like I know it's the
yeah,
kicker news, but it's big news. It's
and
big
I
news.
know he and the rest of that staff is probably saying, man, he should have been 4 for 4. He missed a 52-yard field goal to end the first half with a few seconds left in that period. But other than that, he has been, at least in that game, someone who looked a lot more poised. Because at the end of Tuesday's practice against the Ravens, he tried to boot a long field goal and it went wide left. And I was thinking, man, like if this is going to be what you put on display during the preseason game, you might not last here long. But it's been the opposite. It's been him, looking like he can, be the guy. And I keep saying looking like because we just don't know for sure. Because he's never truly been the guy, Jim. I know people have been high on, his ability and the leg and the accuracy. He had 5 kicks last year. That's a very,
Right.
very small sample size. But I mean, yeah, put it like that. 5 kicks all of last year, 5 field goal attempts all of last year in the regular season that, he was a part of. And then you look at, again, what's going on now. this is, in my opinion, an opportunity for him to continue to grow because he had 4 kicks, 5 all of last year. He had 4 in the game last night. He made 3 of them, and also had a 53 yarder, I believe, to start off those makes. So that was big because if he hadn't looked like that, Jim, Lord have mercy. I think that would have been a little bit more than I can fit in just one story. How about that?
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think Colts fans might. If he had missed like 2 or 3 kicks, I think between the Richardson and Walley and that, I think they would have just been like, all right,
I'm out.
That's out. I'm gonna focus on fantasy, or I'm gonna pick another team. This is it. Yeah, this is it. No, Schrader looked good. I don't have a lot to add. It's kickers, so like make your kicks. He mostly did. It was a long one that he missed, and it was off the upright. So like, I'm not gonna fight too much. What I was best case scenario for the Colts is he goes into training camp with a UDFA and just crushes the competition, and that's what you wanted. And I don't know if he's there, but he's on that track. Like he is, as you've written and said, he's definitively the best kicker in Colts camp right now. That's what you wanted to see. That's what you were hoping to see.
Yeah.
If you're a Colts fan, so I think you and I had talked about the idea of like, okay, well, if it doesn't go well in camp or in preseason or in camp at some point, they got to maybe consider bringing in a veteran to compete with, or just taking another look at, it's one of those days where like, oh, hey, those are 4 kickers on the tryout list. That's weird. Like that happens sometimes, but right now it looks like Schrader's got a hold of that job. So in terms of other positive developments, again, we're going to stay positive because we were so negative for so long.
I know I need to like burn some sage or something before we listen to the podcast.
We're just clearing it. So, I mean, Alex Johnson, is it Bocce? Am I getting that right? Sorry,
yes,
I don't know.
Joe Bocce.
Yeah, so you would get Bocce ball from the Indianapolis Twitter, which is it's right on the money. It's really easy. But I was like, are they tricking me? I don't know. Like
nope, it's Bocce.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, both guys, under the radar. I guess I'll just ask you the question that matters: is either of them have a chance to make the 53, or are you expecting to see both these guys on the practice squad? What are your takes on these guys? Because they both made impressive plays.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Alex Johnson is kind of facing an uphill battle just because I believe he went undrafted last year, and he's a 2nd-year guy. And, obviously a play like yesterday's and the injuries to some of the cornerbacks in his room, he should have a greater chance today of making the team than he had before yesterday. So that's something to keep in mind. And then on top of that, I mean, I think Joe will be a nice linebacker to use in certain situations. I thought that the run defense from the linebackers in particular yesterday was pretty poor from all of them. I couldn't say that one had like a great day, depending on how the Ravens use their run scheme. They really just ran down their throats yesterday, which is a whole other story. There wasn't the full-time Colts starters anyways, but still it was kind of significant. But in space, Joe Bocce has shown I will be around the football. And it seems like, and I don't know how much of it is like, I don't want to discredit his talent because you have to be pretty good to play in the NFL, but he was primarily a special teamer over with the Bengals. So I wonder if him being paired with Lou Anarumo in this defense that he's familiar with, he's kind of earned more reps throughout this whole process, because it's like, well, other than that, I would have been, kind of, out to dry or whatever. So it is something to keep in mind. And for the most part, I think that he should be proud that, he has an opportunity to capitalize on, because he was not supposed to be getting these reps. Between Zaire Franklin, Jalen Carlisle, Cameron McGrone,
right,
he's been out there and he's been making plays. And that's something that, again, he had an interception yesterday. You take the ball away, you're automatically going to get noticed by your staff just by default. There's a lot of players out there that might have had like technically sound games, didn't make a mistake, but you stand out when you make the other team make a mistake. And he jumped the route, got a nice pick. And I'd say Joe Bachi's got some hands. He's got some hands. He's not, some linebackers, I'm like, you got hands for bricks now. Can't catch nothing. But he caught that interception yesterday. I think it was off like what David Leary,
Oh
which was
boy,
one of the
quizzing me on my like third and fourth string
yeah,
Baltimore
it's fine.
quarterbacks.
I said David Leary. That's an actor. I'm sorry. But nevertheless, it's an opportunity for those guys to hopefully in their minds gain bigger roles throughout the season.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hate to do this to you guys, but we did our section of positive. I want to end. This is not negative. It's just something that made James go, I
It's
don't know about
Devin
this.
Leary, by the way. My bad, Devin Leary.
Devin Leary. Oh, you were thinking Dennis Leary is the actor, right?
Yeah,
Dennis,
yeah, exactly. I'm all
yeah.
over
I
the
got
place,
you.
man.
I got you. It's tough. It's tough. So things that made James go, I think again, I made the subhead, guys, so I'll tell you that it felt more neutral than I felt like James wrote it. So I'll say like it was James was maybe a little more like I don't know about this Riley Leonard thing. But you didn't bury him, but you also were like I don't know if this like if we're looking at a world in which Riley Leonard needs to suddenly be the Colts backup, the top backup if Richardson or Daniel Jones were to get hurt. I don't think James feels so comfortable in that scenario.
Nah, I'm not rocking with it. I can't roll with it. I'm so sorry. In my opinion, how do I say this but being nice? Riley Leonard probably has had, we've been in camp maybe 10 days so far. He's probably had one day out of those 10 where he's looked really good.
Okay.
And I would say of the other 9, 7 of them, he hasn't looked good at all. Just because of, the passing, and the passing hasn't been there. And I don't want to be too harsh. I don't want to say good at all, but like, let's just say he was up and down. Like there's been some plays he's made, but he hasn't been consistent enough as a passer at all throughout training camp for me to think that he could step into an NFL game and really help you win. He could go in there and play and be an NFL quarterback, but I don't know if he could help you win and go out there and put points on the board. I'm not saying you got to light it up. I actually think that Riley Leonard's ceiling in the NFL is probably to be like a pretty good backup. I don't know if he'll ever be like a true starter, but he's not there right now. I know people will get caught up with it. And so one of the responses I got on my story this morning, Jim, because we living in Indiana, you have the Riley Leonard truthers and believers. They're like, oh, I don't know what game you're watching. He looked pretty good to me out there. He's going against third stringers and guys who won't be in the NFL.
Yeah,
and he didn't dominate. I think he was 12 of 24 passing. Might have been 3.8 yards like per attempt or something like that.
That's correct.
That's not good. That's not good at all. And then on top of that, when I look at, preseason performances, how could they forget? We had the GOAT, Sam Ellinger. So that's what I'm basing this off of. And Sam used to cook in the preseason. He used to cook. And that was not the case yesterday. Had an interception for Riley Leonard as well. He actually got hit on that throw. But
yeah,
my thing is, it's not that he doesn't have the talent to get there someday. That day is just not today. And so in the back of my mind, Jim, I was thinking it's just a preseason game. Doesn't really matter. But, man, if one of these guys goes down in the regular season, Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, I really do think the Colts would have to consider seriously going out and getting somebody, because having him as your second string quarterback just that will not, I think, end well for him and really for the team. And if you want to help him with the development, you don't want to throw him out there before he's ready to. I know people keep asking me like, oh, if this goes sideways and both quarterbacks are terrible, are you going to play Riley Leonard? And I'm like, they're probably never going to do that this year.
No, don't. Like
you just went through. I mean, we just went through this with Anthony Richardson, where you played him too soon. 2 different tiers of players and where they were drafted and all that type of stuff.
For sure.
But
I hear you.
The premise of it is, especially with quarterback, don't rush him out there. So at least he got a little experience yesterday, but nothing to make me think he could actually lead my team.
No, I think if one of those guys goes down for a significant amount of time, you're calling up, like, I don't know, whoever the Browns cut, I guess, like Kenny Pickett.
Exactly.
Or something like that. Like, you just got to get somebody who's pro ready. I'm not knocking Riley Leonard's development trajectory. I think they knew when they drafted him he's pretty raw. He's a really good athlete. Like,
right.
I think that's part of the deal. But that if anybody has practice squad written all over him, it's a guy like Riley Leonard. So I would assume that's what he wants to do. That's what the Colts want to do, I should say. And that makes a lot of sense to me. So before we get out of here, anybody else you wanted to hit? Again, you guys should all go read James's
Well,
full story on The Athletic, but yeah.
I'll hit this and I'll plug the story. Feel free to read the entire story at The Athletic. I love doing the podcast, but it's like, hey, writing keeps the lights on, so I enjoy that too. And you can go read it there. And I think that gives you a more like formal way to kind of lay everything out, where this is more just fun and lighthearted. But I'll end it on this positive note, Jim, because we had a chance to finally get this story out there. But on the undrafted free agents that I wrote about earlier this week, Tyler Common and Devontae Davis, two guys who are fighting for roster spots. They're on the 90-man offseason roster right now, 90-man summer roster, and they're trying to make that 53, which is always a tough task for some of these newbies. Obviously you got to cut 47 guys 37 guys to make that roster, and they're living life on the edge, and they've beat incredible odds already to get to the NFL. Like, I don't want to give away the entire story, but Cliff Notes version is Devontae Davis. He's from Union Springs, Alabama, a town of about 3,300 people. Not a lot of, wealth, education, and opportunities outside of that city to really grow and explore and pursue a dream like he has. And so he's beat a lot of odds in that fashion. And he ended up playing for Deion Sanders at Jackson State, which is in Mississippi, because he accidentally applied for Jackson State thinking that he was applying for Jacksonville State in Alabama. And it's kind of serendipitous how it all came together, but capitalized on that opportunity to play for Coach Prime, as they call him, and ends up knocking on the doorstep of the NFL after going through some personal tragedies and things like that. So check that out. And then Tyler Common, he is like Jerry Rice of Division II football at Emporia State University, which is located in Kansas. And this is a guy who had a chance to go Division I or possibly try to do it. He had teammates do it, but he stuck it out at Division II, put up some crazy numbers, and has flashed in training camp. I think he's had some moments in training camp. Caught a long touchdown pass from Riley Leonard in one of the team periods last week. So he's somebody to keep an eye on too. Just two guys to root for. And honestly, Jim, we had talked about the story for so long. Yeah. Thanks for your patience. But I love those. I don't know how you feel about it, but we could probably do that version of a story 10 different ways, 10 more times. We obviously have to focus on the bigger picture stuff because of the market we're in, QB competition. But how'd you feel about just, editing something that wasn't so like do or die and high stakes and, pinkies and, how many snaps did you play and stuff like that versus here's an actual human interest piece?
No, I love these stories because especially again, as a fan, if you're a fan of that team, like, all the major players, right? And know the draft picks and most of the guys, but like there's, like you said, there's 40 guys out there that you don't know anything about, and they all have backstories. And like you said, you could have wrote 30 more of these about these different guys, but like I like the idea of giving fans some insight into how hard this is, like how freaking hard it is to get to where all of these guys are, not just the UDFAs, but the pros, like, and how much they want it, how much it's probably never going to happen for a lot of these guys. It just doesn't. The odds are so severely stacked against them that it probably won't, but like they're trying anyway. And I don't know, man, it's hard to not root for people like that, even if it doesn't come to fruition for them. I just like that you can highlight a couple of guys that you don't get a chance to highlight, to say, like, listen, man, these guys' lives have been dedicated to trying to get to this point, and then to try to prove people wrong. And to this point, they have, for the most part. Now, whether or not they do it, to me, like, I think in one of the again, not to give away too much, but one of the stories one of the guys that is surrounding one of the players, and again, I'm not trying to give away too much, but like you said, he's kind of already won. Like, he's won already. He's proved something already, and that's not how they see it, Devontae and Tyler. But like, I don't know. I kind of tend to agree. I mean, I kind of tend to agree that they've proven a lot, and whatever they do with the rest of their lives, they'll always be able to look back on this and be like, man, I made it to the NFL. I played in preseason games. Like, I was there. So anyway, it's cool stories. I love, like I said, I do love these. I do wish they were, not insulting people that are listening, but I do wish they were better read. But when you don't have the big names in the stories, they tend not to be, right? So like it's one of those things.
So Jim is giving y'all the nice version. We work off of clips and clicks and engagement. So if you want more enterprise pieces, want more of the underdog stories, you got to show those stories some love. So make sure to check that out, as well as my rundown from this preseason opener. We'll have much more in the coming weeks. Like I told you all, the season is here at this point. So me and Jim will have regular episodes for you all. We'll be reacting next week to the joint practices in the preseason game against the Green Bay Packers. And so we'll have the latest on Anthony Richardson's pinky. Where is he at? Is he throwing? Is he not? All those types of things. So thank you all for tuning in. And as always, subscribe to the James Boyd Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. But until then, be safe, and we'll talk to you very, very soon.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.